Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Time for Agape. I'm excited about our show today. We've got a special guest who I'll be introducing in a moment. But this is good. It's good to be with you. I want to start by bringing on my co-host for the day, Miss Luca Jo Grappoli. Hey there, Luca.
It's me. Oh, my hands are gone.
You're right. You're a handless person. How's it
Hi.
going today, Luke? I heard you're out riding your bike today, your motorcycle.
Oh, I love it when the sunshine's beating down on me and the wind is blowing in my everything. Wonderful.
Tis the
Love it.
season to get the bike out.
Yes, I love it immensely.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to bring on our guest right away. I want to introduce a good friend of mine, longtime friend, Wendy Terry. Wendy is the new president of Outpost Ministries, and Wendy and I have worked together for a long time. We went to the same church and ended up helping pastor there for a season, and then we worked together at Outpost for a season, and now you are the president. You made it to the top.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
Not me.
Right. No, I think it's awesome. I'm so glad that you are in this role, and honestly, you are so qualified and anointed to do this. And so I've thought that for all the time that I've known you. You belong at the top. So I'm so glad that you're in this role. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to just kind of start out by giving our viewers a little opportunity to get to know you. And
Sure.
Why don't you share a little bit of your story?
Yeah. So, like I said, I wasn't really ever planning to be in this kind of position in a ministry like Outpost. But here I am. God has just brought me through so much and put me here for this time. And so last summer, at the beginning of the summer, I said, I will be ready to bring a new president in and have everything in order for them. And I will onboard that new person and give them all the support they need. And by the end of the summer, it was, oh, I guess I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I hear God asking me to do that. And so God works, just in such amazing ways. I grew up in church. I have been telling people I don't remember a time when I didn't know that God loved me and that Jesus had died for me. And I decided to become a follower of Jesus when I was really little, like 7 or 8 years old. And from that point on, I knew that my life should look different from my peers' lives, that saying I was a follower of Jesus meant that I was going to live God's way. And so that was just who I was. But my brokenness still came through, right? And so even as I was working to live as God wanted me to, I also was bringing along there were two big things. One, I didn't fit a lot of the cultural stereotypes for what girls and women were going to look like, whether that was at school or at church or wherever. And even though I knew that didn't change who I was, like I never questioned whether or not I was a girl, I definitely lived in this space of, well, this is the kind of girl God made me, and if you don't like it, so sad for you. And this is just who I am, and you'll have to live with it. And so there was this sort of tension on how to live my life, knowing I'm a woman, but not exactly sure how to do that when I didn't fit in these pictures other people had of me. At the same time, I was a quick learner. I had some talents and gifts, both in athletics and in the arts. And so I just kept doing all the good things and succeeding in a lot of places. But with all of those pieces, I found myself entering adulthood, really living in a way that was showing the world, hey, I got it all together and I know all the answers and everything's great. And
Okay.
inside, I was terrified that people would find out um, what an imposter I was,
Mm,
that I really didn't know what was going on. And, um, and I really believed in my heart of hearts that if people really knew me, they couldn't like me or
mm,
love me, not even God.
mm,
So I was living this sort of in this double space. Um, and I did that for many, many years until the spring of 2013, when it kind of all just crashed together. And I found myself in the midst of this major depressive episode. And over the next 2 years, God used all sorts of things, my Bible study, my church, my Moms of Preschoolers group, the Outpost prayer room, and probably even more than that, to very slowly
mm,
shine his light of truth on the lies that I believed and replace them with his healing words. And just this great, I had these great experiences of just sitting and listening to what God had to say about me.
mhm,
And as I did that, he healed all of these broken things that he realized were so broken. Um, and as I came out of that, I felt this freedom to be able to move in the gifts that I had and know that, yes, I belong to the world of women and it's good to be a woman. I don't have
mhm,
to fight to prove that I'm a woman. I just am. And it was so exciting and freeing and strengthening, I guess. Um, and right about that time, as I was kind of starting the upswing from that, you asked me to come on staff at Outpost.
mhm,
And I knew about Outpost. I had met a lot of people who had come through Outpost and had seen God move in their lives. And I thought, well, that's a real thing. That is something I want to be a part of. God is moving and working. And I have some gifts that can plug in there. And I wanted to do something. My youngest child was starting full-time school. And I had asked God for a small job that I could do during school hours. And he said, okay, why don't you come into ministry? And so here I am 8.5 years later. Um, and now it's my job to do that listening to God and see what's the next thing for Outpost and
yeah,
how does God want to move through Outpost to bring hope and healing to people who are struggling with who they are, just
mm,
like I was struggling. The working out of that might look different, but the bottom line struggle is really the same.
mhm. Absolutely. One of the things that I've always really loved about you, Wendy, is your consistent yes to the Lord. And
Mm.
I've seen it over and over and over again where
Yeah.
we would come to you and say, "Hey, would you do this?" And like, well, I never really thought about that. But you would always seek the Lord, you'd always pray and be willing to step into that new thing, even if it seemed different or weird or I've never done that before. And it's really taken your life in this really cool direction. Where here you are, doing something that you didn't really maybe start out saying, I'm going to direct this
Right.
ministry. Um,
Right.
but God,
But I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But I say, yeah, it's amazing to me. And yet I also can look back over my life and see all these key moments when God was preparing me. I have an aunt and an uncle who both identify in the queer community and have since I was a child. And so I had this, formative years to really, okay, God, what does that mean? How do I think about this? How do I interact with them? I love them. And I know this isn't your plan. So what do I do with that? When in our early years of marriage, my husband and I had an opportunity to really engage with the conversation around sexuality that was happening in the ELCA way back when. The church we were at brought in a speaker from the Alliance for Therapeutic Change, and used to be called Alliance for Therapeutic Change. Yeah, we got to hear him, and it was one of the big names. I just don't remember which one. And I was just so moved by the need for people who are struggling in this area to really a chance for hope and healing and compassion. And so that was really key. And so when we moved here and started meeting all these young men and women who were experiencing God's power in their lives to bring transformation in their and wholeness to their sexuality, it was exciting. And I just see all these places where God was bringing me along. And when I started working here, maybe you remember this, my oldest daughter was entering high school, and she went to a performing arts high school. And suddenly I was in the midst of just so many students who were questioning and struggling and searching. And I had an opportunity to care for them and hear their stories and learn about what their hurts were. And I just feel like God used that to really shape my early years here and bring me to the point that I'm at now.
Yeah. I love that. Just an aside, NARTH is now the Alliance for Therapeutic Choice and Scientific Integrity. And
Thank you.
I know it's a mouthful. And Darren, who is often on the show with us, actually, we share him with them. He works there. So they're a great organization, really helpful in this arena.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Outpost. What's new? What are you guys up to? And just share with us what's going on.
Sure. Yeah. So we had this big transition last September. Dan Pumala, who had worked here for 30 years, retired, and that was really exciting. And I stepped into the president role. One of our main support groups for mature men, that is men over 35, they have been continuing to meet, and they actually dove into another partner ministry's curriculum, and they're doing a Living Waters book study, which has been really, really great. They actually left today for their spring retreat. So they have built just this amazing community of men who are supporting one another and helping one another in their walk with Jesus to do that progressive sanctification. What's the next thing that God wants to bring healing in me about? We've had new guys. We have about a dozen guys meeting on a weekly basis with that. It's super cool. The other big exciting news is that we are going to be able to do our young men's Joshua Fellowship Summer Intensive. It's had a number of names over the years. We're recognizing that our Gen Z young men really want clear, direct communication. You know, if you call something a name, they want to know why. And so we shifted the name this spring to say, here's what it is. Be prepared. It's 3 hours a week together and possibly some work outside of that. Just diving into what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to follow Jesus with my whole heart? How do I hear God's voice? How do I follow him well? And they're going to be meeting over the summer. We've got 10 or 11 weeks of lessons for them. Super exciting. And literally, I was at a conference 2 weekends ago, and a young man saw our table, walked over and said, "What's happening with the summer program? I need to be there." So just that confirmation, you know, I threw it out there to see if we had someone. I have a leader who's committed, already has all the lessons written, and guys that are already expressing, yes, I want to be there. So we're really excited about that. The other big thing we were able to do this year is overhaul our website. We have a web presence, and so many people find us through searching for us on the web. And we just wanted to update and give a space make it really clear, like, hey, you're not alone. Whatever your struggle in the area of sexuality, you don't have to do this alone. And we would love to come alongside you and walk with you through that. We've got, information for people who are struggling. We've got information for family members and friends. We've got links to all sorts of other ministries. I think we've got your video podcast is on our resource page. And so just trying to get information and help to as many people as want it. And as part of that, we've expanded kind of our teaching and resources. We have self-published, I guess you would say, made available a PDF of our foundations course. This is a class that everybody who comes to be part of our support groups goes through. And we talk about, how do we understand what God has said about how we're created as men and women, the importance of our embodiment, and what does it mean to find healing? What does healing mean? What does transformation mean? And just really lay that all out. So we were able to get that put together. My staff did an amazing job of writing some of the text and putting together the outlines. And it's available for anybody who wants. We released it under the Creative Commons license, so people can download it, use it. And if they're like, ooh, and we want to add this to it, hey, as long as you tell people where you got the first stuff, go for it.
Right on.
And so we're really excited about that. So yeah, I think, let me see, what's there? I'm going to check my list here. Those are the kind of the three big things. We've got a couple other small things still in the works that I'm not quite ready to share, but we just keep moving where we see God asking us to step, and we also see God saying, hey, things might look a little different now. I know you and I have talked a little bit about Gen Z, and I've done a fair amount of reading on them now, and we're needing to shift a little bit of what we're doing to speak into their lives, but our basic message is the same, just how we do it is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really like,
and
Go ahead, Luca.
I really like that you have all of this information available on your website, and that you're okay with, as long as we name the source, with adding your own to it. But I think that's such an important factor, Wendy, because so many people, this is my information, and you can't have it, and and we're all in this together. Why wouldn't we just want to see the kingdom advance and not hoard things? So I really like that.
We didn't come up with all that ourselves, right? We're drawing on the work of so many other people. That's why too, there's a whole list of, here's a bunch of books we recommend. Here's a bunch of videos you can go watch. Here are the people that are also thinking about this and talking about this and seeking after what God has to say about us. We're in this together. Our third statement in our mission statement is about establishing outposts of restorative community. Nobody needs to walk this path by themselves, right? Mm-hmm. We need each other. We're made for relationship. God is a relationship. We're made in his image. We're made for relationship. And so, we want to, get that out there and give people a chance. Mm-hmm. With that, I saw a note here too. One of our great ways to celebrate that is coming up. We are actually celebrating 20 years of one of our events this June. It's called Out of Darkness, and which means, I don't know, Nate, if you were over here when this started, or if it was before your time.
I remember the very first one.
I had an email today from someone at Restore Ministries who said, I remember that first one. We have a worship service where we come together and we just let people share what God has done in their lives to celebrate calling them out of the darkness of sexual confusion into the marvelous light of Christ.
And Wendy,
Yeah.
I've gone through my memory box when I was in high school, and I went to the first one, and I
Wow.
still have the bulletin, and Nate
Oh my
gave
gosh.
testimony. It was John Polk was the keynote speaker.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I was there when Nate was there,
Yeah.
and then it would be 20 years before God would bring Nate's my path to cross again with agape, which is
Crazy.
just amazing that you guys is that many years ago. It was just
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe that it's been 20 years
know.
since that first one. But you know, that is the goodness of God. He's continued
Amen.
to give us these testimonies of overcoming, and it's the testimonies that keep us coming back to, you know, to this.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and we're working on having somebody from Agape First there to share testimony. I'm checking in with, there's 3 or 4 other, you know, small groups or churches that have support groups, trying to reach out to them to see, like Luca was saying, you know, no one group here has cornered the market on seeing God move. And so we want to celebrate um, what God is doing in the Twin Cities metro to bring about transformation and healing and wholeness in people's lives. So that's the goal of what we're going to do that night. It is right before the Minneapolis Pride Festival, so the Thursday night, and it's going to be a great time. So
Absolutely. And speaking of doing things together, we actually are going to be doing a conference.
yes,
May 18th is our Freedom United conference, and we are doing that in partnership with Outpost Ministries. And Wendy, you are going to be one of our featured speakers of the day. So you've got a keynote and a workshop and a testimony. So it's a
Hallelujah.
day for you. But I'm really excited because we're adding a track on, you know, ministering to Gen Z, and you know, that's something that you've kind of done a lot of research and study on. Plus, you have, you know, children who are in that age
yes,
range.
all
So,
4 of them. Yes.
so tell us a little bit, just a kind of a little preview of what maybe they can expect that day. And
Yeah. So in the keynote, we're going to dive into who is Gen Z, what's the context they live in, what are the kind of the characteristics of who they are, and what do they care about. So we really want to look at who we're talking about when we talk about Gen Z, which is people who are born between 1997 and 2012. And so they follow the millennials, and they are becoming adults at this point. So we want to look at who are they? Yeah, what do they care about? What do we know about them? Because as it turns out, Pew Research, Barna, all the places are doing research on Gen Z. And they have a lot of buying power, so we get a lot of consumer research on them as well, which is pretty interesting. And yeah, it is 39. Yeah, oh, that's a higher number than I had seen. But the number of folks in Gen Z, especially in the adults that are Gen Z, who identify as LGBTQ, is large and growing. So we want to understand them. Why is that? What do we do? In the workshop, we're going to look at some of the ways we can care for, especially teenagers. We're going to learn from some of the things that I wish I'd done differently and some of the things that I think and are working now as I've shifted. I have 2 adult Gen Z daughters and 2 teenage sons who are Gen Z. And so really want to look at how can we care for them. The 3 words that I think God gave me on that, want to talk about belonging and how do we help help Gen Z find belonging? Because I really believe that that's why so many are identifying in the queer community. They find love, acceptance, and belonging there that they didn't find elsewhere at home or in a faith community. But also, we need to provide clear boundaries. There's nothing wrong with being very clear about where we stand, what we believe, how we see the world, how we understand God has designed us. And Gen Z is okay with that. They don't back away from hard conversation or engaging in hard conversation. So how do we live boundaries and engage them in those conversations, especially as they get older and are going to be adults soon? And then finally, blessing. So belonging, boundaries, and blessing. How do we affirm them and bless them to call them out and call them into the design, the gift of their embodiment? How do we call them into those spaces through blessing them and affirming the things that we see God doing in them? So we're going to, and we'll have the workshop will definitely be more conversational discussion and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping we can, really just think a lot about our students and our young adults, and how we can care for them well in this. The world and the internet will disciple them into what I called choose your own identity. And we have a chance to disciple them into the way. Excuse me, my phone is ringing. I did not realize that.
Absolutely. And that's why we really want to have this track, because we want to be discipling the young people. They need that in their lives. So if you're watching and this conference sounds interesting to you, you can register by going to our website, www.agapefirstministries.org, and it's just look on our events page, Freedom United. We're also going to be talking about the issue of transformation, and we're going to journey through the Bible and see how God is a transforming God, and He's the same yesterday, today, so He still changes lives. We're going to do a little more discussion on Side B gay Christianity. And so, I mean, there's just a little something for every issue and how that affects children. So it's a really important day. There's no charge for the conference. It's completely free, but we would love you to register so that we know that you're coming.
Amen.
It helps us bring order to the day. So all the information is on the website.
Amen.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this, that we're doing this together.
I know, right?
Yes.
Just excited. We're doing this together.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is exciting because God is really moving in our city, in our state, and so is the enemy. And what is that saying? Divided we fall, united we conquer, divided we fall, something like that. So
united we stand, divided we fall.
There it is. And really, Jesus desires unity, right? And that's what He prayed for in John 17, and so that's important. It's, the things that are important to Him should be important to us.
I'm excited to see it too, to be able to do things together. I think it'll be a fun time.
Yeah. Well, Wendy, any closing thoughts as we kind of wrap up the show today? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, I just, like I said, it's just so exciting to see how God has moved in my life, and then to see how that intersects with the stories of other people and how God is bringing hope and healing to them. And I just want to help people find that, whether that's coming to stuff at Agape First, whether it's coming to stuff at Outpost, whether it's working through their local church congregation that got training from another ministry like ours. We just know that God wants to move and bring wholeness. And so, we want to help that happen.
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about Outpost, if you want to sign up for their mailing list or donate to the organization, just go to outpostministries.org. And you can find all of that there. They've also, did you mention the downloadable foundations? You did, didn't you?
I did, yes. And that is, if you go, you need to click on the word resources on the main page, and that'll take you to the resource page, and it's over on the far left there.
Okay.
And you can download it. It's like 45 pages. So, um, and but yeah, it's there
Hmm.
for you.
Awesome.
Like Trinity Works has, well, not Trinity Works anymore. It's Firebase. They have a foundations course too. I
Yes,
was
I know.
just thinking about the similarities, but it's all surrounded around discipleship
Yes,
being the core center of helping people to grow and become. I love that.
for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah, that's what it is. We're all in this process of the already made new and working out our salvation in fear and trembling.
Yeah.
So it's the now and the not yet, and discipling people. It's hard, but it's so worth it to be in community to be able to do that.
There's enough sin to go around for everybody, I mean, start sharing things and resources,
How,
and
yeah. How about there's
I just
enough
think
healing to go around?
that's better. There's enough healing to go around. Yeah, I like that.
Well, that brings us to the
Great.
end of our show today. It flew by.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, Wendy, so great to have you on the show, and really excited about everything that God has for us moving forward, everything
Yeah.
God has for you in this new role, and so we are very excited to just see you flourish in that position. So, want to thank everybody for watching today. You can connect with Agape First through our website. If you go to agapefirstministries.org, you can also donate. We're all US based missionaries. Wendy, myself, Luca, I mean, we're all raising support to do this really important work in Minnesota. And so, if the Lord moves on your heart to give, we would love that, because it's what helps us continue the work that God has for us. And so you can do that on our website. You can also check out our Facebook page, which is Agape First Ministries. And then you also can check out our YouTube channel, which is probably where you're watching this, at
Right now.
Agape First Ministries Media. Whew, that's a mouthful. Well, that is our show. And want to say bless you, and we'll see you next week on Time for Agape.